It's Karppinen barely in first place, being pursued by the Swede, Hultin, and in third place, Janka of Austria.
This is a good chance for us to analyze, if we can keep this camera angle, a good chance for us to analyze Pertti Karppinen's style. You can see the leg length gives him tremendous compression. It's the legs that really propel that boat through the water. Strong back pry. And here we see Fredrik Hultin pressing Karppinen every single stroke. Karppinen still is measuring him. There's no question that Karppinen has plenty of juice left, Bucky. No question about that at all. But the least amount of work that he can do today, the better he'll feel about the entire regatta.
It's not possible, is it, Steve, that he could underestimate Hultin of Sweden?
Anything's possible, and Hultin is a first-class sculler. So it's conceivable, if Karppinen does not keep an eye on Hultin, that Hultin could sprint by him. It's highly unusual, but you can't rule it out. When two boats are this close together, all it takes, Bucky, is one misstroke, one miscue, one bobble, and that opponent can go screaming right by you. So Karppinen's feeling heat. No question about it.
In the long run, it may be better for him to be tested as opposed to having, and tested he is, inside of 500 now. Hultin of Sweden attempting to pull a major upset here on the first day of racing. Karppinen, if he is not ready, is in the repechage. He's got a race on his hands.
It was interesting, as we crossed the 500-meter mark, we saw Karppinen looking over at Hultin. It almost looked as if Karppinen gave up. I said it almost looked that way. We can't tell for sure, but we can sure see Fredrik Hultin is moving on Karppinen at this point. Looks as though he's moving at will, Bucky.
The regatta course is abuzz. This is definitely not expected. All the talk here about 4 gold medals, and here we are in a heat, and an upstart from Sweden. Fredrik Hultin is giving the Swede, giving the Finn Karppinen all he wants.
There's no question about the fact that Karppinen has shut down. He is now, on rowing terms, paddling. Now, whether that's a consequence of an injury, whether that's a consequence of saying, I don't want anybody to see what my last 500 looks like, we can't be sure. But we can see that he is shut down. He's simply paddling his boat in. This means he has to go through the repechage. This means he has to expend energy to get more energy to get to the final. Very interesting development, not something we would have guessed, Bucky.
No, indeed. This strategy may be guessed and second-guessed many times, unless, as you alluded to, might be a factor, a physical reason for that move. But it certainly is going to make his work much more difficult.
Yes, and here we see, literally at this point, all the scullers are at less than race pace. Fredrik Hultin, who we knew was a factor coming into this race, is cruising, as we say, followed by Karppinen, who is cruising along. No special expenditure of energy.
I think the point we keep making is not to downplay the heats in terms of people not going all out. I think it's just difficult to make projections for the future on the results of these heats because you don't always get the best effort.
Yes, a lot of these scullers, and particularly in these sculling events, are hiding. They want to hide what their strong moves are. So if they can progress through the regatta without showing what they've got, then they feel as though they have an advantage, the surprise advantage, coming into the finals of the race. Here is Karppinen. Appears to me, Bucky, to be uninjured. It looks to me as if his shutdown was intentional. As I said, I can't read his mind. Perhaps he just didn't want to show his final 500 meters.
The results are in. Hultin of Sweden finishes first. Karppinen